Hi all, there was interest in going over the Dutch defence with this Master Collection resource on Chessworld, so you can find this on the Improve menu. On the Improve menu, Learn from the Masters. So the Dutch defence, if we play d4 and play f5, a lot of this information is from Wiki, which is becoming more and more, it seems better each year as more contributors to Wiki, so it's an excellent resource. There's some ECO references with some named variations. So the most important named variations of the Dutch defence, there's only actually less than a handful of seemingly officially named variations. So just in case some of you are not aware, one of the most important is after Howard Staunton, who did the Staunton design of pieces we see in modern tournament play. This is the Staunton Gambit. So named after Howard Staunton, a very aggressive gambit. So the Dutch defence is controlling that e4 square, and e4 just basically challenges it straight off the bat. Usually players with white, well, let's have a look at delaying c4. So we've got an index here. The Rubinstein variation apparently is where white plays knight c3 here. So this is called the Rubinstein variation, and I thought the fianchetto is attributed to Rubinstein later though as well, so he might have played knight c3 here, but I think in some games he has fianchettoed his bishop. So avoiding knight c3 or a quick c4 and knight c3, we can have a look at these other names variations. The Leningrad Dutch is actually so like this, with g6, and we're going to go into the Leningrad Dutch territory. So both sides have fianchettoed their bishops, and I've quite enjoyed this with black on numerous occasions. So often with black, black will aim to play often queen e8 and e5 later. So that's like the Leningrad Dutch variation where black fianchettos bishop. But often black is also playing e6, and we can head for this position where you see that it used to be played with bishop e7, so this kind of thing. I think it'll be recognised soon, or maybe not. Yes, here. Now this, with the bishop e7 and the queen e8 idea, queens sometimes coming to h5, it's called the Ilyin-Janevsky variation, so it's an important variation with the bishop on e7. And one thing I've learnt actually from checking Wiki this morning, if we go back to that main index of variations, you see that's quite an important named variation, the Ilyin-Janevsky variation. So you see black's playing bishop e7, bishop e7, bishop e7, and in fact, okay, we can follow up here with black playing this c6, and that becomes known as the stone wall. So that's a very, very, very important variation, the stone wall. So if we get to that here, so c4, try and get to that here, where black, you'll note, has played the bishop to e7, and you see this is all stone wall territory. So the stone wall is this wall put against this fianchetto's bishop. So a very, very important name, just simply stone wall. I guess that's kind of, in a military sense, a kind of a wall you'd want to have made of stone, okay, as a defensive measure. So okay, so we go back to this main index. We see that the stone wall is a very, very important named variation, as well as the Leningrad Dutch, as well as the Staunton Gambit, and the Rubinstein variation peculiarly with knight c3. But what has particularly enlightened me is Wiki indicates that the resurgence of interest came with actually black not being so keen to put the bishop on e7. You see all these ECO lines, you see the bishop e7, and the modern treatment with players like Nigel Short is actually to try to put the bishop on d6. So straight off the bat. So for example, like this. So black getting that stone wall, but playing bishop d6. So if we have this sort of position, and I've put a note in today, this morning. So the modern stone wall, you see the bishop coming to d6. And yeah, these other grandmasters, Yusupov, Dolmatov, Nojashov, Ajtin. So the earlier d5 and the bishop d6. And it's been termed the modern stone wall, apparently. So it has remained more popular than traditional bishop e7. And believe it or not, I wasn't really consciously aware of this, and I have played the Dutch quite a lot. So I don't know if there's some advantage to actually making sure you know all the officially named variations of an opening. That's quite interesting. We'll check out Wiki occasionally. It seems to be improving each year, Wiki. So if you want to, try and see if you can remember these variations, play them to get the named lines. This is quite interesting. You'll see a whole maneuver queen e8 here after bishop e7. The queen's often going to h5 in that line. So Ilyin Genevsky variations are important. And here you'll see that actually the Botvinnik variation, this is another peculiar thing, is with b3. So he was playing b3 there, and then that's just against bishop e7. So trying to swap off this bishop for the bishop on e7. So that's named as a Botvinnik variation, so an anti-Dutch. But you would think he plays the Dutch with black, but I guess against Bronstein in his World Championship match, Bronstein was imitating Botvinnik's repertoire and was playing the system with black against Botvinnik, and maybe that occurred there, that b3, I presume. But you'll notice the idea is often to exchange off this bishop for that one, because black has these weakened dart squares. So you'll see that here, bishop a3, these common methods in the stone wall, just to show that on here. So if this bishop's here, and we'll go with the traditional bishop e7, so that seems that's the traditional sense. So in fact here, leaving the knight at home, just b3 here, you see this exchange strategically often favourable for white to try and use these squares later and manoeuvre the knights around the central squares, the weakened dart squares. So that's Stonewall territory really, officially. So yeah, I thought I'd quickly just review the Dutch, the main name variation. So this is the ECO index. Yeah, and it doesn't seem as though there's many, as far as I'm aware here. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I missed out any major name variations. It doesn't seem as though there's many officially named variations within the Dutch defence. And it's interesting to see what variations have been named by the great players like Rubinstein or Botvinnik. Okay, hope you got something out of this. Comments or questions on YouTube, and this resource, if you want to try this out, and is on chessworld.net. If you go to the improved menu, learn from the masters, and there's interactive system here. Of course, by the way, we can just one more thing. Whoops, we can find like games as well. It's got traditional find games beneath it. So if we did go into Leningrad Dutch territory here, we can find games, of course, from this position, and you can check out some master games, etc. So anyway, I hope you find this resource quite good fun. Just getting hangs of the main names of variations, and also you could be invited to a tournament if you do come to Chess World. I'll invite you to a tournament with other YouTubers. Okay, thanks very much.